Hey guys, welcome to I'm Just a Fan, and it's your host Ben. And today we're going to be talking about, sadly, a more somber subject. Tua's injury last night, going a little bit over the game, and kind of just overall just looking into the future and just kind of seeing, how is this going to impact the Dolphins season moving forward. So if you didn't miss it last night, the Dolphins were playing the Bills in Miami. It was a decent game, but as time was going on, eventually the Dolphins were down big and Tua ended up making a play on fourth down. He ran into Damar Hamlin, who it really wasn't even Damar Hamlin's fault. Not that it's really ever your fault unless you're obviously intentionally targeting a player. Most guys are really just making a football play. But Tua, he didn't. Instead of sliding, he didn't slide, and instead decided to lower his shoulder, and lower his head as well. And he ended up getting a really bad concussion. I mean, you could see his hands were kind of I forget what exactly it's called. I think it was called the flex reflex or something like that. Again, I am not a doctor, just a casual. No, I'm not casual, but just a fan of the game. Again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know all this stuff. But it was just really tough to see that. Again, I know he was struggling yesterday, 3 interceptions, one of them being a pick six. But you can never really question the grit of this guy. This guy is consistently always, trying to make a play, trying to do something. He has put his body on the line for better or for worse in the past, and he did as well last night. But it's just a really unfortunate scene to see. I mean, I don't really know how the NFL can avoid situations like this, and apologies for that noise. I don't know how the NFL can avoid situations like this just because this is football at the end of the day. This is the game. It is a violent game. You can run from it all you want, but that's what this is. It's a violent game where guys are running at each other at a very high speed, and there's collisions. Obviously, your brain starts to move a little bit. It's too much momentum, but kind of going back into this with the Tua perspective, you really got to wonder, like, does he have to consider retiring? And I think as much as again, selfishly, I would love to see him play long term, I just don't think he can risk it. I mean, this is his fourth concussion in 5 years, especially if you remember the 2 years ago where they said it was a back injury, but he looked rocked. I think he was actually against the Bills, and then he played against Miami, and I think he got concussed that game too, I think. It was just such a bad look for the NFL. And then he got concussed later in the season. It was just bad luck. The NFL's already kind of treaded on some thin waters with this guy already, just with his injuries, and it was just such a gruesome injury last night. Seeing it was just very sobering. You could see the staff reaction. You could see it within the players. It was just tough. It was tough to see, and now they're saying he's going to be out a minimum 8 to 12 weeks. I think obviously it's probably going to be longer because, I mean, I don't know what they're doing over in New York, but I'm assuming Goodell and the rest of the league is probably really considering, like, hey, this guy's got to sit for a minimum of a year, just for the optics of this. But I think he's really got to consider retiring. I mean, Tua, thankfully, I heard this part of my take from PFT. So shout out to him for this. This wasn't my idea, but just kind of elaborating on it. He said, thank God that Tua has been paid and has been given that money. And I have to completely agree because at least Tua doesn't now have to worry, okay, do I have enough money to support my family long term, all that type of stuff. Like, no, he's set for life. He's set for life. His family is set for life. So this decision doesn't need to be about money. It's really about, do you want to give up the thing that you've worked for so hard in your life? And, your entire life has been based on this game. And he's only 26 years old, but again, 4 concussions in the last 5 years. We don't know if he got any concussions at Bama or in high school. So I'm sure he's realistically probably had more. And you just really got to, consider, like, again, I just think he's probably got to retire because, again, he has 3 children. And the more and more we know about the CTE stuff, it's scary. I mean, this guy could a couple years, he might go crazy, might get depressed. Like, there's so many things it does to your brain. It makes you aggressive. Like, there's just so many things. And seeing this, seeing him decline potentially from that would really, really suck, obviously, especially if he just continues to put himself through that trauma. And like I said, I think for right now, I think, yeah, he's probably going to have to retire. I don't know if he'll do it. I don't know if the league's going to force him to do it, but it's just something he's really going to have to think about because it's just, I don't know. It's just really, there becomes a point where, again, you really care about the game, you care about your craft. This has been your life, but there is a point where it gets to, okay, I need to now prioritize my children's lives, my relationship with my wife, and especially number one, my health mentally and even physically, even though it's all related to the brain. But there's a lot of stuff he's got to think about. And I was going to say, thankfully, at least that Miami, again, he's gotten his money. He had just signed a 4-year, $212.4 million deal with Miami. It began this year, and he had 167 million guaranteed. So 43 of that 167 million has already been paid, thank God. But it's just something he's really got to consider because he has the money now. So it's not a money issue. It's just really, can I continue to put myself through this physical trauma? Now, going to Miami, I mean, this is the worst thing you could have ever hoped for. Now, this was a risk that you've already, considered when you gave this guy the deal. And, people were questioning his play. I mean, I felt better about him last year that he stayed healthy and he actually, did his thing. But I felt like he struggled so far this season. I didn't think he looked great against Jacksonville in that first half. Obviously, he didn't look great yesterday before the concussions with the 3 picks. I mean, one of them being a pick 6. So there's been questions about this guy already. And then you already had questions with the concussions prior to that. But, I mean, long term, let's say hypothetically this guy retires. I mean, Miami's going to have to get a new quarterback. You're going to have to pay all this guy a bunch of money. And now, I know it's early, but I wouldn't say McDaniels is on the hot seat, but you got to start even questioning him. I thought his play calling looked really bad last night. Very uncreative. Wasn't a lot of urgency to really get the offense going. And now this guy's pretty much going to have to coach with a backup quarterback all year. They haven't won a single big game in a long, long time against an actual meaningful opponent. So there's a lot on the line for him as well as a coach. And organizationally, I mean, this was your number one asset, and now there is a strong chance he's probably going to be done either for minimum the year or he's going to be done potentially forever. So the Dolphins really got to consider just a ton of things. Again, I mean, this team is looking to contend, but this changes everything now. When you don't have that position, you really got to consider, what do we do? How are we going to pivot? What what are we going to do? Like, what are the next even year or two going to look like for this organization? I think that they maybe could reach out to Tannehill, see if he would be interested. The Brady discussion would be interesting, but obviously he's a little too far in now. He literally has a minority stake within the Raiders. He is getting paid $37 million to now broadcast at Fox, so I don't think that would be an option. I don't really know any backup quarterbacks off the top of my head that would come out of retirement for this, or people that aren't on a team yet. So Miami's going to have to figure this out because they did release a report today that they are going to continue forward with Skylar Thompson, but at the same time they are also going to be pursuing a backup quarterback. It's just a lot to really consider for them, and I feel bad for the franchise. I feel bad for the coaches. I feel bad for the players, and I feel bad for the fans. I mean, this sucks. It's the start of week 2. It's the start of week 2, and your season's already over. I will say I want to give credit to the Buffalo Bills. I was still high on them this year. I don't know why people were sleeping on the Bills. Yes, I know there's some fatigue with them consistently winning the division and then coming up short in the playoffs. But again, you have to remember they're usually coming up short against the Kansas City Chiefs, who every single NFL franchise has come up short against in the last 3 to 4 years. So I was never out on the Bills. And again, I'm also gonna give myself some flowers here. James Cook, I have him in my dynasty league. Everyone's telling me, you should be down on James Cook this year. Why? He's the number 1 back, and he's a versatile back. Why the hell would I be down on him? And you saw it last night. I know he had a very quiet second half, but he also didn't need to have a big second half. I mean, this guy making plays in the receiving game, making a play at the goal line, a huge touchdown in open space in the middle of the field. Like, this guy can do it all. I'm very excited to see his career in Buffalo, praying he stays healthy. But it's just a lot to consider, and it sucks that this game we can't really talk about everything that kind of goes with it, just because again Tua's injury is really going to overlook everything, and obviously that it should overlook everything. This is way more important than just a game of football. But I wanted to give the Bills some credit because people were really sleeping on them, and again, I don't want to write Miami off, but realistically, they're cooked. I don't see how New England realistically is a playoff threat, even if they had a big win against the Bengals last week. The Jets, we will see. I know some people are kind of already out on the Jets after 1 week. I'm going to say give me some time. It's the first time Rodgers is actually playing with them, but they didn't look fantastic last week either. So this division for me is Buffalo's to win. So I just wanted to get this out there. Very unfortunate news for Tua. It sucks seeing that. You don't want to see it happen to anyone. I'm praying I can't even say he's going to be okay because we all know the statistics and what comes with numerous concussions, but he's really just, again, man, he's got to consider, is it time to let the game go? Because there's a point where, dude, you have all the money in the world. Okay, maybe you don't, achieve what you want to do career-wise. You didn't feel like you were ready to go. But if your body can't handle it and you're dealing with this consistent trauma, you really got to start putting, what's more important to you, your family and your health, or playing football and trying to win a Super Bowl. So things he's got to consider, and just a very sobering night for the NFL community. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you like sports content, feel free to subscribe. If you have any comments about this game, leave them down in the comments below. I will be here to respond to them all. I want to build a community here, so that's what I'd love to do. And yeah, I appreciate you guys watching to this point. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you on the next one. Peace, guys.